Oh, boy. Mm-mm-mm. Well, at least we could stop with the Knicks in 5 nonsense, if nothing else. What's the final score of this one? 105-86? Sure, why not? That sounds good. Here with DJ Zulo. Hello, DJ. How are you?
I'm okay. You know, I was better about 3 hours ago.
Yeah, weren't we all?
But let's have our therapy session and try to figure this one out.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. I have a lot of thoughts. I'm gonna just try to. There's not gonna be any soliloquies to start this one. I'm gonna try to get as much out as I can, and I want to bounce it off you because you're a lot smarter than me when it comes to this stuff. And I'm curious if we saw the same game. Well, we saw an ass kicking. Did we not? That was an ass kicking. Yes. Can we confirm?
Yeah. I actually think it could have been a lot worse, to be honest with you.
If they were, yeah, it's weird. On one hand, I want to give all the credit in the world to Miami. Miami is doing this to us. Let's just start there. Miami is doing this to us. We are letting them do it to us. There are some self-inflicted wounds that are at the behest of Miami. But Miami is doing this to us. Give them all the credit. At the same time, they are not the sort of team that is going to beat you by 40. They're not. That's just not how they're built. If they were playing another team today and they played the way they did, I think this deficit could have been twice as much. So we'll start there. Second thing I just want to say out front, we'll get into X's and O's and rotations and starting lineup things and effort and guys just playing very badly. I thought the Knicks were out hustled today. Not to the degree where I'm gonna sit here and be like, oh, I'm embarrassed to be a Knicks fan. No, I didn't think it was that level, but it was noticeable enough for me watching where I felt like I wanted to lead off with that. Do you agree with that?
I do. Yeah. I think just the Heat going strictly to a man-to-man defense, a ton of deflections early, bumping every drive the Knicks had. And then it was almost comical how many times a Heat player was on the floor diving for a loose ball. If you use that as your proxy for how hard each of the teams were playing, I mean, there you go.
Yes. So get that out of the way. Okay. Let me try to see if I can get this out in a coherent fashion. There's going to be a lot of attention paid to things that there should be attention paid to after this game. Julius Randle, very bad game. The starting lineup does not seem to be working. And as a result of the starting lineup not working, the bench is all kinds of out of sorts. There seems to be a simple change to that, which is to put Grimes back in the starting lineup and put Josh Hart back on the bench. Set everything the way it was. Josh Hart being on the bench and Quentin Grimes being in the starting lineup was not going to make up 19 points in this game. I mean, we're not talking Elfrid Payton, Derrick Rose here. We're not even talking, Alec Burks, Emmanuel Quickley. Josh Hart's a really, really good player. And he helps the Knicks win. Mm-hmm. But the Knicks have, I don't want to say been doing it with smoke and mirrors all year, but we've been talking about it all season. How does the 23rd, well, for most of the season, they were the 23rd, 24th best effective field goal percentage team in the league. They ended up, I think, around 19th or so. How does the team that can't shoot generate the third, or by some metrics, second best offense in the league? Well, we always point to the same three things: offensive rebounds, free throws, don't turn the ball over. All those things were neutral at best today. But that's really that's getting too into the weeds. They're the third best offense in the league because they knew exactly what they wanted to do every game they came into, and no team could prevent them from doing the thing that they wanted to do, which is, we're going to get in the teeth of the defense. We're going to take the shots that we want to hit. And if you take away those shots, once we get into the teeth of the defense, we're going to kick it out. And we're going to take the threes that we want to take, the threes that come off of our penetration. And you know what? If either the threes miss with a penetration, we get the penetration, we take a shot, it doesn't miss, well, then there's someone there to get the offensive rebound. And it starts the whole cycle all over again. And by the end of 48 minutes, you will be exhausted. And we will outwork you, and we will make you tired by the end. Cleveland, I think, thought that, well, we have 2 7-footers in the middle, so you're not going to be able to do that against us, which is different than we're going to take away what you want to do. And I don't know if that's maybe me getting too cute by half, but I think there is something of a difference there between that series, to say nothing of the fact it's a very young team that hadn't been there before, and this series, which is a team that, oh my God, do they know exactly what the Knicks want to do? Are they able to take exactly away from the Knicks what the Knicks want to do? And they're saying to the Knicks, yeah, we know you shot a decent percentage from three during the year, and you took a fair amount of threes during the year, but we're not going to let you take threes the way that you want to take threes. We're going to make you take threes the way we want you to take threes, which is the first domino of your offense. And if you make those shots, great. And look, would Quentin Grimes help that? Absolutely. It is a move so obvious at this point to just try to juice that starting lineup a little bit that I actually would be very surprised if Tibbs didn't go to it in game 4, but who knows? But it's more the mentality that they are bringing and our inability to get around them making us play on offense the way they want us to play. Or is there some low-hanging fruit we didn't take at the beginning of the game, hunting matchups? Absolutely. I have no earthly clue, and I'm going to turn it over to you in a second, what the hell they were doing to start this game in terms of going at the Heat's strengths on defense as opposed to trying to go after their weaknesses. But that's almost besides the point in terms of the Heat have taken us completely out of what we want to do on the offensive end. And yeah, I'll stop there because I have other thoughts, but I talked for way too long, and I want to get your opinion here.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the driving kick in just then, and I don't remember. There must have been a play or two in the first half where the Knicks got penetration and then kicked it out for an open three. I don't really remember that happening in the first half. At least it didn't happen with regularity. And it got to the point where in the second quarter, they were taking so many of these transition threes where a lot of them, these were uncharacteristic shots for the Knicks to take, but it almost
felt like
those
shots.
They don't take those shots, but it felt like an offense that had no other way of generating threes, and they were just like, "Listen, Quickley's in the game. I'm generating threes off transition," and then they actually got a couple looks out of that and started to cut into that lead a little bit. But it all started where in the first quarter, like you said, they were trying to almost like with take a hammer and drive into the lane. Heat were surrounding. And then they were also doing a great job of cutting off passing angles. And it was, to me, it was a little bit on Brunson early with a little bit of tunnel vision. And I wasn't the only one to tweet this out. I think it was very clear that he got a little too focused on his zone and doing so into the hands of the Miami defense. And I think that just got the Knicks off to a little bit of a rough start that sort of steamrolled a little bit.
And I just want to jump in very quickly. Yeah. What are the two weaknesses of the Knicks? They don't pass the ball particularly well as a team, not just
right.
It's like go on through the list. That's not a strength of theirs. And two, they're not a great team in terms of movement in general. They move some, they move enough, they move the way they want to move, right? Again, it's about what they want to do, not the way the Heat or they would have to move to kind of get around the defense the Heat are playing.
Yeah, and to me it was the switch, and we knew it was going to happen, where you play primary zone without Jimmy Butler in the game 2. The Knicks sort of figured it out as that game moved along. We knew that there was going to be some zone, but primarily this was going to be a man-to-man situation today. And I don't think the Knicks responded at all to that. And the physicality of the Heat right off the bat was just, they punched the Knicks in the mouth and the Knicks didn't respond. And to me, you had to know this was going to be the adjustment with Butler playing, and for the Knicks to come out and sort of, it didn't seem ready for that sort of physicality that the Heat were generating was somewhat disappointing, especially as that game started, where it just felt like every loose ball, every rotation, the Heat were on it, whereas the Knicks were just a step slow. And, it's one of those things where you expect everyone's going to play hard, but it's like when a team has that extra edge, and game threes can tend to happen when the team goes home for the first time. The Knicks didn't match it, and it didn't. There were spurts where the Knicks finally were playing their game, but it sort of never sustained. And even when the Heat got into a rut in that second quarter, the Knicks really couldn't cut really into that lead heavily because they weren't obviously playing well enough offensively. Because I thought at points in that second quarter, they had a chance to really cut into that lead. Didn't happen because their offense couldn't sustain anything, well enough to do it.
And DJ, when I said at the top, out hustled, I implied in that, and I should have been clearer, out physical too. Out hustled, out physical, fall under the exact same umbrella. Totally and completely agree with you. And then let me say one more thing about the whole starting lineup issue, because I really do, and I think you noticed it more glaring today than any other time. Not having Hart with the second unit. I wrote it down. That second unit scored I don't know how many points they scored when they were running in the first half. I know it wasn't a lot. in the beginning of the fourth quarter, which was the game over probably, but that unit scored 3 points in 4 minutes and 11 seconds. They are missing something. And the degree to which Miami took advantage of that unit today, and I'm fairly certain because RJ both starts and RJ plays with that unit, that's the reason why he was, oh my Lord. I knew it would be bad. I didn't realize it was this bad. Yeah, so RJ Barrett's going to get a lot of shit today because he's a minus 32. That's a result of who he was playing with, I think, more than anything RJ Barrett was doing. And look, you got everybody know I'm King RJ hater, right? If there was anybody who was going to dump on RJ today, today's not the day to jump on RJ.
No, it's not. Well, and look, it was tougher on him. All those driving lanes that were there, games too, because of the zone. They're not going to be there against his team in that situation. No. So it was a lot of shots where he just had to make mid-range shots over good contests. He had Bam Adebayo. I mean, I don't think RJ necessarily finished well today, and obviously the 3-point shot wasn't there. It wasn't a good game for him. And but look, when you have
Jimmy take Butler, a number, RJ.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. You were one of how many players played the game today? You were one of that many players that didn't play well. So yeah, you're right. This wasn't on him. This is a total team letdown. And then they got Tibbs on the mic in the second quarter, imploring his team to bring an intensity that was matching Miami. So it's not just like us, quarterbacking this and saying, the Knicks were out hustled, out intensified. The head coach literally said it. So it's disappointing. Not necessarily shocking because you watch enough of these series. These are the ebbs and flows of a long series. It's going to happen. How they respond, we can get into, but I expected obviously a closer game than this. And I thought that, not responding in the way that the Knicks needed to, starting with Brunson, who I thought just didn't have the right mindset. He needs to, sometimes he'll get so focused on getting his, that he can forget that he has other ancillary pieces that he has to, and this is a small criticism. He's a wonderful player, but he can get into this mindset sometimes. And when he's not going off and he's not making all these tough mid-rangers and floaters, the results can be pretty rough. So I'd expect him to come out game 4 with a little bit different mindset, but it was a total team letdown, as you were saying.
And at the same time as you say that, and I think this is part of the conundrum in this game, at least, and for the most part in the playoffs, he's the only Knick who's been able to generate his own offense. So it's like, how do you I'm sure it puts him in a tough spot. And that's why, and then I want to transition to, look, there's going to be a lot of blame for Tibbs. Pile it on. Again, it's on the head coach to have your team ready to come out and execute the game plan. And whether that game plan was etched in fucking concrete slabs or it was written on the back of a cocktail napkin, with the way they came out at the start of this game, was not a team to me that was ready to execute against this defense. That has to fall on the coach in some way, shape, or form, whether he was saying it, whether he wasn't saying it, with the game plan. I think they had the game plan. They just didn't follow it. Neither here nor there. And then obviously the Hart Grimes thing seems to be backfiring. That said, they put up 43s. They made 8. That's abysmal. That's atrocious. They were, for the most part, good looks. At the end of the day, you do need to put it on the players to some extent. And that's a transition for me, at least, to move on to Julius Randle. No, Nick was good today, as you already correctly identified. It doesn't take an astute analyst to point that out, but you nailed that one. Who the hell was the best Nick today? That's a dicey question.
I actually don't think Josh Hart played a bad game.
No,
I thought his individual defense on Butler was good enough. We can get into how panicky the Knicks were when Butler had the ball. I thought it was too much.
Yes.
Andrew says Deuce McBride was the best Knick. I think that might be accurate. That's
might be accurate.
Yeah.
So, and I always am leery to single out a player in a game like this. And by the way, Quickley has a sprained ankle, according to Tom Thibodeau. I
thought it might have been a knee situation, which worried me. So, we know ankles can linger and they're a problem, but
better that it's the ankle, but better ankle than knee. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
And I want to get back to Quickley before we finish up here. I do think Randle is deserving of at least a little bit of a spotlight on his own, and not in a good way. We all know what bad Julius Randle looks like. We got the full runtime feature length picture today. Do you agree that he stood out in not in a good way, and what do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure exactly where to start, offense or defense. You can, yeah, you could shoot bad. That happens. You kind of like you build into your team a guy that's not a great shooter is going to have nights where he's just not going to make shots, and he's got arguably the best, one of the best defenders in the league on him. Primarily, it's a tough matchup for him, but I think Tom Piccolo had the clip of. Arguably one of the worst closeouts I've ever seen in my life. It was late in the game.
Don't call it a closeout. Don't call it a closeout. That's disrespectful to closeouts.
To a closeout, right? He basically walked up to I don't know who the shooter was. I think
it was Lowry. Was it Lowry?
I think it was Lowry. Lowry ended up making the three in the corner that kind of it was the result of all the chaos that his closeout caused. But it was him standing upright. We've seen it 100 times. Going through the motions, he's easily beat off that closeout. Again, Lowry flies over to the left corner, makes the three, and it was just a microcosm of a night for him where it wasn't like the Knicks were out of the game, where I started to notice some of the rotations just not being there. And I don't know where to go necessarily, because it just seemed like he was disinterested through most of that game. And
it's a good word.
And I don't know how you can go into a game. You're tied 1-1 in a Eastern Conference semifinals, and you look like you weren't necessarily all that in. Now, listen, if he would have made shots, I'm sure, as we've seen, he would have gotten him juiced up on the defensive end. But he didn't make shots.
That can't even. I'm sorry. I appreciate you trying.
It's a terrible excuse.
The weird thing was, like, from the opening tip, it wasn't like, oh, Julius doesn't have his offense today. That's now affecting his defense. From the I want to go back and watch like the first couple of possessions. You could tell it was glaring at the outset.
How does it happen?
I don't know.
How does that happen in a playoff game? And you can as a team just not bring it to the level that your opponent is bringing it. That happens. It happens
all the time.
Whether it's it happens all the time. But for a player to do it with such a when you're so important to this team, and you've been here for so long, and you've been the guy for 3 years now, where this team ebbs and flows based on your interest and giving a shit. And when you don't give a shit in a playoff game where you're tied 1-1, I don't understand. It's just like, I'll never for the life of me. And maybe there's something else going on. And I know we're going to have to do this thing where we're like, all right,
do we really have to? I don't have the energy for it, DJ.
I don't have the energy for it either. He just didn't care enough. And to not care in a game where, early on, it looked like the Heat were going to like extend this lead. It was going to be a tough, but from, like you said, from the opening few possessions, it was just a lack of urgency from him that was apart from what the team was doing. His disinterest in playing this game was different than RJ Barrett not winning a rebound battle with Bam Adebayo. Yes. He got caught in a couple of those, and listen, Bam just out-physicaled him a few times. RJ got one where he got clipped. It should have been a foul on Bam. He didn't get the call. Frustrating. Listen, but that happens. But what Randle was doing for most of that night is one of the most inexcusable, and I've been watching this team as long as you have. Listen, I'm sure it's happened before, but you just
can't happen on this stage.
It can't. It just can't.
It can't happen on this stage.
From the jump.
If you're, look, the Knicks are a young team. They are the one team left in the playoffs that has not been here at all. With all due respect to their 5-game dalliance with the Hawks 2 years ago. So I want to, again, that's not to give the team a pass, but like second round of the playoffs against a team that has made a finals in the last few years, and that was a 3-point shot away from making another finals. Like, it is a different animal. And that I want to respect that. And that is why that's the biggest reason for me. I so much of this, like, oh, we're the better team than them. We're going to walk over them, at most Knicks in 6. That's why a lot of that stuff got under my skin against this particular opponent, against this coach, against Jimmy freaking Butler, who, I mean, God bless you if you actually thought that he wasn't going to play today. I give me some of what you're smoking. I'd love some. Make me sleep easier tonight. So like, and give the Heat credit for this. Are they a great team? No, they're not a great team. They don't have great talent, but they're a team that comes out and all the things we just talked about with the Knicks getting kind of thrown off their game, not really knowing how to respond. I keep thinking back to what Benji said. I think it was either before the series or after game one about what a big moment it was in the Cavs series when Bickerstaff switched up his starting lineup after essentially the first game. And here we were getting Grimes out and putting Hart in like right from the jump, and like how that would seem significant to him that we were the first one to bend. Like all that stuff matters. But anyway, back to the Heat. Like they know what they want to do on every possession. They know what shots they want to get. They know what shots they want to give up on the other end, and they have a leader on the sideline and they have a leader on the floor. And we do have to pay respect to that for as much as we're going to bitch and moan and complain about what the Knicks did. Last thing with Quickley, and then I'll any other thoughts you want before I get you out of here. I thought it was funny how the announcers kept saying, "Oh, this is Quickley's best postseason game," and I was like, "What? Oh, man, I guess so." But like, that's not exactly a great compliment. Right. Like you said, he was trying to get himself going. There was a moment in the second quarter where they basically ran the closing lineup, right? Where it was Randle, Brunson, Josh Hart, Quickley, and Hartenstein. Yep. Where it's like, oh wait, that's the Knicks. I've seen that team before. That's the basketball team I've been rooting for, and oftentimes coming on here and being very happy after they won a game. It was a reminder of how this team is this team in large part because of Emmanuel Quickley, and why we got on here so many times after games and be like, oh yeah, Emmanuel Quickley is the Knicks' third most important player. Is there any question about that? And his he had a few moments in this game, and like I don't know where I'm going with this point, but it was just like I saw it and I'm like, oh man. I almost forgot how important that was.
Yeah, and it just felt like he at any moment, and there was a three he made. It made it 49-39. A transition.
Made a couple of them, yeah.
There was a stretch where the Knicks were getting some things. Grimes had an and one in transition.
He had that pre-rotation with the steal that led to, I don't even know if they got anything out of it, but he got the steal. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, steal. I think that was the play. He got the and one.
That was it. Yeah.
Out of that. So the Knicks were getting things at a transition with that lineup, and I thought Quickley's shot looked good in game 2. I thought it looked fine in game 3. The shots are just not going in.
Just not falling.
And it's just I was, and this is like you take small victories out of this game, but I was heartened at least that it doesn't feel like he is. It feels like he's playing again, and I felt like there were points in the Cavs series and then in the first game of the series where I just didn't think he was playing his game, for whatever that means, but it feels like he's playing his game and the shots aren't going in. Defensively, he got hurt by a guy that's much bigger and stronger, and Lowry at the he's just got the shoulder into him, and those things happen when your strength is not your strength on defense. But overall, I just felt like he was so close to kind of blowing up a little bit, and the Knicks
was right there.
It was right there, and I felt like the Knicks were so close because the Heat for a point in the second quarter couldn't make a shot.
No,
and the Knicks got it to 10. I don't think they got it within beyond that. I think 10.
I don't think they ever. But did they get it to 8 at one point? I don't know. Maybe Andrew remembers better than us. But
maybe 8 they were pointing this. I know it was 49-39. Maybe they got it.
Andrew's saying no. It was 10 is the least they got.
10 was the closest they got, and then they missed some. They missed some shots, and the Heat extended the lead a little bit going into the half. But I felt like it was there for the taking. That was the point in the game where if you're going to look back, a couple of those missed. I don't know, would they miss 32 threes in the game?
Yes.
Shocking.
Yes, they did.
Insane number. But if one or two of those had gone in that second quarter stretch where things started to work for them, primarily in transition, because you look at this half court offense again, I think they were at 70 points per 100 overall. They were at like 55 in the first half.
I think Fred tweeted out at one point they were at 59 pretty deep into the game.
It's a shocking number. And
it's a fake number.
It doesn't make sense that a professional basketball team can go out there and put up that sort of performance. But, I felt like Quickley got a little happy with the pull-up threes in transition. But again, I didn't think that this team, he knew he kind of had a sense of the moment where this team needed him to just make 3 or 4 threes in that second quarter, get them back in the game. Unfortunately, he couldn't get it himself all the way there.
We have there's a super chat for you that Andrew's going to get to in a second. But before we get to that, just anything else that we didn't touch on here that you definitely wanted to talk about before that?
Well, listen, game 4 is the big moment where you make your switch. I like you said, the obvious one is Grimes in the starting lineup. I think it just feels like an obvious one. Although I don't know what your percentage of confidence that Tibbs is going to make that move is. I'm about 50-50 on that one.
It should be.
Not as high as it should be. And then I just think the Knicks need to figure out a way to deal with this Miami man-to-man defense, which was much more physical than I think they anticipated. And the other thing is, I don't think they need to panic when Butler has the ball. I felt like there was way too many times where they were sending 2 at the ball, some of it being Brunson when he had the Strus matchup. And Max Strus, I don't know what he ended up. He had 17 points at one point, and just he
finished with 19, shot 3 of 10 from 3, 7 of 14 overall.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he took advantage of the Brunson matchup, but a lot of that was just Brunson being the man that they were doubling onto Butler. I feel like the Knicks need to almost play him straight up until Butler proves that because Butler didn't shoot amazing. I mean, he got to the line a ton, so his overall efficiency was
9 of 21, 28
so
points.
I think you need to make him a mid-range shooter, a 3-point shooter if you can figure it out. But you keep him off the line as much as you can. Easier said than done. But don't send as many doubles at him as the Knicks were doing. I thought that they were a little too. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the most disconcerting part of this game is probably that the Knicks lost this game by 19 points. Miami shot 39% from the field and 22% from 3 themselves.
Yeah,
that is staggering. And again, it speaks to how successful the Heat were at just taking the Knicks out of what they want to do and how uncomfortable they made the Knicks on offense. All right. I think on that note, Andrew, do you want to do DJ's super chat and then do moment of the game personal injury report? Here we go. Okay. Ryan, here, I'll read it and I'll let DJ answer. Hey, DJ, I'm no X's and O's guy, but I would like to hear from someone that is, what adjustments did Tibbs make going into game 3? I'm struggling to find any.
What adjustments did Tibbs? I wrote down actually in my pregame notes, what adjustments are the Knicks going to make into there was a concerted effort to take and make more threes in transition, but I think that was more of an in-game adjustment based on how the Knicks were struggling in the first half. I don't necessarily think there's the obvious adjustment is that it's hard because you have Jimmy Butler playing in the game. He didn't play in the previous one. So I don't know if there was any pregame adjustments that I noticed necessarily. And I just feel like there was some going within the game. I thought Quickley should have been in the game earlier. I thought Tibbs should have had more of a feeling that this game was sort of different in the sense that the Heat were playing a sort of physicality that the Knicks were going to be required to spread them out a little bit. And he didn't go to that, move quick enough, in my opinion. So I thought going to Grimes earlier would have been my move within the game. I don't know if he needed to make a ton of adjustments. He just needed to get his team ready to play a team that was going to come out and push them around a little bit. And he didn't do it well enough because the team wasn't ready for what the Heat were bringing, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't know, so other than Grimes for Hart, is there an adjustment going into game 4 other than be ready to play, Yeah.
I mean, I'm harping on it, but let Jimmy Butler beat you. I know it sounds crazy because we have the Milwaukee series in our rearview mirror. I don't know if he's not 100%. He was limping through a lot of that game, and just let him. You gotta, when you were doubling in the way they were doing it, where it wasn't like the doubles are coming in from a scenario where he wasn't seeing it. So the passes out of the double were pretty easy for him. So I just think let him prove to you that he can make, score 35 to 40 points on. He might do it on great efficiency, but to me, I'd rather keep my defense in line. The Knicks have not been rotating great in the series. They didn't do any great in game 2 for the Heat for other reasons, but in game 3, there was a lot of empty rotations, a lot of missed rotations in that game. Try to keep the sanity of your defense in line. And part of that is just letting Josh Hart, letting Grimes play a guy one-on-one a little more, and then make the adjustment based on like how he's performing within the game come game 4.
Would you, last thing, and I'll get you out of here.
Yeah.
Would you give any thought to? I have a feeling the answer. Yeah, I just thought of this because I'm just wondering to starting Grimes and Quickley and putting RJ and Josh Hart and bring them both off the bench just to inject that much more shooting, movement, kind of a defense. I know obviously you're losing Hart, but you're gaining Quickley. Or is that you think that's too small? It's too drastic?
Yeah, well, it feels drastic just in the sense that it feels like a move that's gonna be. It's going to come off as desperate, and I don't necessarily think the Knicks have to react as a desperate team. I don't think.
No, they don't.
I don't think benching Josh Hart for Grimes would come. I mean, it's a move that it's how they were operating throughout Josh Hart's tenure within the Knicks. So to go back to it feels like a normal adjustment.
But the Quickley thing would be that'd be desperate.
It would feel a little desperate, but I mean, I would definitely want to see more of that lineup because I think you saw it. There were times in that first quarter, Brunson's trying to penetrate, and he's got a wall of defenders. And the Knicks shot more long twos or more mid-range shots than any shot on the floor in the first half. So they weren't getting it all the way to the rim. They weren't finishing when they were there, and didn't get a ton of 3-point looks until as the second quarter kind of moved on, and then the second half. But they need to spread this team out as best you can, and then hope your defense holds up.
Yep. Well, we somehow summarized.
It's only 2-1, by the way. It's 2-1. I know we have to. It's just like it's tough to watch that game, but it's 2-1, and I am not. This team has too often this year has answered the bell. I fully expect there's to be a different group to start the game 4. I'm not necessarily going to pick the Knicks to win right now. I kind of want to look back and see how this game really went on a second watch, but at least physically, at least mentally, I think this team is going to be there next time these two teams play.
I had the thought of like coming on here and being like, the first thing I was going to say, all right, everybody calm down. It's only 2-1. That felt disingenuous because I felt like we needed to respect just how poorly the Knicks played today.
I agree with you.
However, I do think it is appropriate to end by reminding everybody it is only 2-1. And the playoffs are a funny animal in terms of game to game when, look no further than the world champion Warriors losing by a gajillion points to the jawless Memphis Grizzlies in the playoffs last year. Now, granted, that's the Warriors. It's the Warriors. But, like, again, this team does have that in their DNA. Different stage than they've been on. We'll see if they're up to it. DJ, you were awesome. Thank you so much, man. Anything else before we get you out of here?
No, just it's 2-1. I hope that everyone just kind of keeps their head about them a little bit. Like you said, this game deserves criticism from the coach on down, but I have confidence that this team is going to answer the bell at game 4.
Amen.
All right, fellas.
Later, my man.
Enjoy it.
GMAC. Where is he? Nicely. Okay, here we go.
I'm here.
How you doing?
I'm good. So the lineup you just suggested, the Quickley Grimes lineup, to start, wouldn't that just mean the bench doesn't have shooting then? You're just putting the
you're stealing from Peter to pay Paul. Totally. I agree. It is too drastic. I wouldn't do. It's not the time for that sort of a thing. But in terms of maybe going to it maybe a little earlier. I think it's an idea. It's tough. It's tough because we've praised RJ Barrett for 5 straight games. Tonight he didn't have a great game. Again, I don't think it was anywhere nearly as bad as this plus minus suggested. But like there is a question with how the Heat are defending the Knicks now. I don't know how much does this continue to be an RJ series? I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know if it's an RJ series or I hear what you're saying. Like I said this to you in our text, like RJ being a minus 24 at half, a minus 32 for the game felt more of like the lineup and the spacing that he's in than he's played so bad when he's in their minus 32. And I agree with you. Like the most spacing possible is a lineup I would go to. To be honest, this was a day to go with Hart at the 4 and sit Randle if you were ever going to do that.
Well,
And there's your Quickley Grimes minutes. They play together, and hopefully going small like they did in the last regular season game actually works out.
We didn't talk about it with DJ, but like I was actually surprised. Like Obi played, what did he play the whole fourth quarter, right? Because he went to the small ball thing. I wasn't sure if we were going to see Obi in the second half after the first half that he played. Again, nobody was good. Yeah. But you went with that. Yeah, I don't know. Nothing would surprise me at this point moving forward. We have the return. Yes, the return of the personal injury report. It wasn't here for a little while, but we're proud to have it back from courtesy of our good friends at Weiss and Rosenblum. They had to take a little break, but they're back in full force. And what better game to come back with the personal injury report? Oof. Don't forget, if you think you may have a personal injury case, call Weiss and Rosenblum today at 212-366-6100. Again, that is 212-366-6100. You could also visit weissandrosenblum.com for more information. Consultations are absolutely free. If they take your case, they don't get paid unless you do. Prior results don't guarantee future outcomes, but most important thing, got to go with a veteran. Like Tom Thibodeau, go with veterans, not go with rookies right now. How's it working out? No, but if you go with a veteran in Weiss and Rosenblum, it will work out better for you than it is currently working out for the Knicks. 212-366-6100. Okay. So Emmanuel Quickley, sprained ankle. The Knicks play in 2 days.
Glad it's not worse. That's my simple reaction to it. Glad it's not worse.
I mean, we're talking about a player who played 9 minutes in the last game, which was a win for the Knicks. But he played a lot more today. How many minutes did he actually play today? 20 minutes today. Felt
probably
like
would have played the entire fourth
probably,
quarter.
Yeah, probably
gotten hurt. So.
Probably would have kept going. I'll just go back to what I said a minute ago. Like Emmanuel Quickley was as intrinsic to this team's identity this year as anyone besides Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle. They need him. They need him to play better. They beat the Cavs without him playing particularly well on offense, at least. I thought defense, he was pretty good against the Cavs. We hope he's okay. I hope he's okay. So that's that. Jalen Brunson also appeared to, or Bam Adebayo actually stepped on Jalen Brunson's ankle. I guess inadvertently. I don't know.
It was going up for a rebound, landed on Brunson's. Look, I have energy for the Heat today. The entire fan base over there getting a "Let's Go Heat" chant going while Quickley was being helped off the floor is not my favorite of moments over at MSG South, but Florida does what Florida does.
Florida, we know that. So yeah, Tibbs said Jalen Brunson may have tweaked his ankle today. Again, this team's not going anywhere without Jalen Brunson, so we hope he is okay too. I think that's it. Other than New York's pride, which hopefully they recover from in short order. Our moment of the game. I don't know how the hell we're supposed to do a moment of the game.
So I've got 3.
Oh boy.
The first one, you mentioned it when they got it down to 10. Quickley had hit his second 3 of the second quarter. Knicks get a rebound, a defensive stop. Hart pushes it up the floor. Randle walks into a long 3, and I'm wondering, like, what is going on? Like, this Julius, like, he takes it with maybe 18 left on the shot clock. I get it. All season, he's made tough shots. This was not the game for him to be taking that 3. It misses. Heat come back down. Jimmy hits a shot. They're up 12. What could have been, if you get a good possession there, maybe go back to somebody else that was actually contributing on offense. They get it down to 8. They finally get it under single digits. Instead, it goes back the other way, and they never got it lower than like 13 the rest of the game.
He had several momentum killing 3-point attempts that missed, and then there was that one where he actually thought better. He didn't take the 3 and then like ended up turning it over. It was all bad. What was your second moment of the game candidate?
The challenge that was overturned. Because if you listen, we're grasping at straws at this point, but
I know
I couldn't understand it, and it's funny. Like,
I couldn't either.
I got smoke for Tibbs today. It's mostly just the Grimes for Hart sub, because I just would have rather see what the game, how it would have played out if you went to the rotation you've used all season. But like that moment, it was just a strong indication of every button he pushes is going to end up being wrong today, because he calls a timeout there. Like, Brunson draws the offensive foul. He draws the timeout. It's like, all right, we got 2 minutes left. Let me actually like come up with an ATO to make sure we get this down to 16. During that timeout is when Spoelstra got a second look at it. I was like, you know what? I'll just challenge it. It's Gabe Vincent's 4th foul. Why not? I got like 7 timeouts. And then we come back from break and they're challenging it. It's like, oh, so if you had just like inbounded the ball, maybe the Knicks get a basket there. It's down to 16. We're having some fun in the 4th quarter. That felt like a moment, if I'm grasping for moments. And then the last one, 4th quarter, Jimmy Butler is sitting for the entirety of the 4th quarter. It looks like he's not coming back in the game. Knicks get it down to 13. Spo calls his 3rd timeout of the 4th quarter. And Jimmy Butler, hobbled and all, draws a double, hands off to Bam. He dunks it home. That's the exclamation point. Heater up 99-84, and the rest is history.
Jalen Brunson said he'll be ready for game 4. Well, I hope he is.
Better in game 4.
I thought you were going to go with the Jimmy Butler long 2 over Josh Hart, where he ran back up the court saying he can't guard me.
So that was on the list. They did get it back down to 13 after that. So that's why I went with the exclamation point, you know?
Which is, by the way, and again, Josh Hart has played really good defense on Jimmy Butler in the series, but it's all the more reason, like, listen, Jimmy Butler's going to score. Jimmy Butler's going to score. Going back to Grimes, it's not like you're losing much there. So, yeah.
Did you have any flashbacks to the 90s when which Zeller was out there? Cody?
Well, I was going to say, you didn't want to give moment of the game to Julius for just like remaining on the ground and smiling as opposed to getting up and trying.
I was like, okay, we get our Kelly moment. It's growth. You know, Julius just sat there and didn't get. Okay. Can I go tell you the dark place I went to in that moment?
Sure.
I was like, so if they eject Randle here, do we have a chance? Like, that's the place I went to.
No,
again, I'm a Randle guy. Like, I'm open to criticism for him today. He was awful, like god awful.
He was awful, but the notion that like removing him from this game meant the Knicks would have like been.
It was literally just we're grasping again at what I started with.
Grasping is true.
Place I went to. Okay, can we go to Hart at the 4, RJ at the 4? Then Grimes comes in, then Quickley comes in. Oh, what do you know? Spacing. And then maybe we get a couple threes to fall, and it's a 9-point game in the 4th quarter.
Last thing I'll say before we start getting the super chats, I'm going to shout out. Where is he? Let me get his name right. Chris Peso DM'd me after game 1, or after it was game 2, and he was like, he was very, very kind about it. He's like, I sense you getting frustrated when fans vent after, like a good win, but you got to remember, like, that this is what fans do, as you always say, Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
Fans short for fanatic. So I just want to say right up front, let it all out. I'm not getting on anybody for anything. Ideally, we're not firing anybody or trading anybody tonight, but I just want to say that.
Ideally, but that's not what happens rationally when you're right after a game and your team just got their teeth kicked in by a rival.
Which is why I want to say, so for anybody who's used to hearing me push back and be like, oh, get off the ledge, this and that, I'm gonna be very receptive to all criticism and ledge jumping and so on and so forth, because that was bad. And if your emotions are running high, I certainly can't blame you.
Well said. Remember that thought.
Remember that thought.
As we now dive in to the super chats.
Oh my God. I feel like I'm about to enter in the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, where he goes to get the chalice or whatever.
It's the opposite. It's the first one. The temple.
With the state. Oh.
Hold on.
He has one of these moments in every movie. Oh,
right.
You're talking about the Raiders of the Lost Ark?
I'm talking the opening scene where you're now entering of Raiders, where you're taking the sack out, and there's phrasing. Taking the thing off the thing, and then suddenly a boulder.
Much better.
They didn't say a different word, John. We're about as effective as a Josh Hart starting lineup right now.
We could also go with the snakes on the train at the when young Indiana in beginning of part 3. Too.
That is true. You may also in Raiders be being lowered into a snake pit at the moment. So maybe that's the actual example.
Whatever. Bring it on. That's what I'm here for.
There you go. We start before the game, as always.
Of course. Oh my God. I can't with these. These we're going to be getting through especially quick tonight. Robert Cross, it's your boy John. We haven't yet tipped. I'm wearing my Mitch Block Party t-shirt for Immaculate Vibes. Will today be the day? Hashtag 53 wins. No, it will not. Robert Cross, first time, long time, John. First.
For the love of God.
Oh, for the love of God. With the abbreviations, I can't. Can we get Hart off the floor with the starting 5? I'm tired of this approach. Hashtag 53 wins. Yeah, a lot of people are. It's not working. Not working. Thanks, Robert. Haju, team is allergic to kicking out to shooters today. You know, it's there's not a lot of confidence. There's a collective lack of confidence in the shot in this team right now, which is a problem when that's what the defense is giving you. David Ells, Randle's a superstar who doesn't have it today. That's very kind of you to call Julius Randle a superstar. I think he's a star. He's a star player in the NBA. He is not a superstar. 16 points down in second quarter. Let Obi, Grimes, and Quick try some threes. Brunson drive and kick to them. Oh, that didn't work so great either. Nothing really worked. Thanks, David. Robert Cross, angriest I have been after a half of Knicks basketball the entire year. Wow. Hashtag 53 wins. Yeah. I mean, I don't blame anybody for being super angry after that half. I mean, I was angrier after halves throughout this year when I really felt like the effort was and the preparedness was much, much lower than it was today. We did have a few of those against some really bad competition. That's the difference, I think, really. The competition, I've so much more respect for the competition that we're facing in this series than I think a lot of people out there did before the series and maybe even did going into this game. But hopefully we can dispense with that. James Choi, Hart makes no sense with the starters. I'm sorry, John, but it's a fireable offense. Fire the coach! Second unit has no one to calm them down. Can't move forward with this. Yeah, it's not working. It's not working. There are reasons why he went to it, and those reasons they're not paying off. Not paying off right now. Thanks, James. TJ Akai, JaMychal Green in game 2. Grant Williams, Jock Landale last night. Common thread is coaches making adjustments before it's too late. Rigidity will only get you so far once you get past round 1. I guess this is another fire the coach thing. The JaMychal Green thing, just FYI, was because Kevon Looney was sick. So anybody who was wondering that. The Landale thing, yeah, absolutely. The Landale thing I thought worked really well. It says a lot about DeAndre Ayton. But you know, that's something that they have to deal with. Again, it's not working, and it might be a little bit of Tibbs trying to outsmart himself, or Tibbs not trying to outsmart himself. Tibbs outsmarting himself, and he's the only one left holding the bag here. Robert Cross, the officiating in the series has been straight trash. Hashtag 53 wins. I don't know. I thought the Brunson overturned call was pretty egregious. Even if it may have been technically the correct call, but like, I don't know. How are you supposed to officiate this series between these two teams? I genuinely don't know the answer to that question. Met Knicks. This series is emblematic of why Tibbs is a good coach, but not a championship coach. When you can't out-hustle the other team, how does he adjust? Well, he adjusted several times in several ways in the first series. He tried to pre-adjust in this series by starting Hart. It is now, I think, contributing to them being down 2-1. It has not worked. Game 4 is in 2 days. Time to make another adjustment. It seems obvious to all of us. We'll see if he agrees, and what happens if he makes that move. Huber, then, what's going on? Our 2-time coach of the year simply cannot be outcoached this badly. I don't care. This man's ability to stick to things that don't work in the face of all reason and evidence is astounding. Going down with the shit, man. Why did I say that I wasn't going to snap at anybody? I would just gently point out that, generally speaking, there is usually reason and evidence towards decisions made, and decisions not made. And all of these decisions are difficult. And, I think all of these comments are a good reason why, especially the one about like there's championship winning coaches and then there's like coaches who are just good but not great. Me and Andrew spent 25 minutes on the Patreon pod yesterday talking about this and how, like, is there really a difference? Like, you got, Spo's one of one, and like, Pop, you probably put in that category also. But like, Mike Budenholzer won a championship. Frank Vogel won a championship, Ty Lue, who might be out of a job at some point with the Clippers if things keep going a certain way there. Like, a lot of it comes down to circumstances. Now, doesn't mean the coaches can't be outsmarted and can't be out schemed and can't outthink themselves, and like all that stuff is very possible. And Tibbs is an imperfect coach, just like most coaches, and those imperfections seem to be, rearing their ugly head at the moment, for sure. Robert Cross, I don't want to hear one single solitary thing about how the Heat have played well. Robert, God bless you, man. The game and officiating is straight trash. Hashtag 53 wins. At some point, you got to acknowledge the other. I mean, all you're doing is you're doing the thing that we killed everybody for doing after round one. Robert, you're every Cavs fan right now. You are every Cavs fan. I don't want to hear about how the Knicks played well. We lost this series. Knicks aren't that good. We played terribly. Sounds even more ridiculous now, coming out of your mouth. Daniel Carlisto. Tibbs got to go back to Grimes starting next game. Agreed. Playing Josh Hart 40 minutes and shuffling RJ Quick and Grimes between one slot isn't working. Well, I wouldn't quite simplify it to that extent, but I agree Josh Hart is playing a lot. And again, like, okay, so Josh Hart played 38 minutes. Like, it was funny when I asked DJ, like, who's the best Knick tonight? The first name out of his mouth was Josh Hart. There is something to be said for the fact, like, you get why he's doing it. He is that security blanket that every coach wishes they could have. And when coaches get a security blanket like Josh Hart, a guy who very rarely does anything wrong in terms of defensive rotations and in terms of hustle plays and in terms of, lots of different things. Like, it's hard to take those guys off the floor. You don't want to take those guys off the floor. But the very unique construction of New York's roster may necessitate that he cannot be a 40-minute or 38-minute a game player in this series, and does need to be something closer to a 30-minute a game player. The thing that is unfortunate, and this is why, and I mean, talk about Alec Burks redux. Like, Alec Burks is a wonderful player. Alec Burks is a guy the Knicks could have used this year. Would have been helpful to the Knicks this year. Shit, he'd be helpful to the Knicks right now. And because of how he was used and miscast, and how much he struggled in that role, it brought all of the ire on Alec Burks. Alec Burks didn't deserve that ire, just like Josh Hart doesn't deserve any of this ire right now. And why it is very much on the coach. He does need to adjust. The thing that I will, just kind of toss in here is we are calling for more of whatever, more of Quickley, more of Grimes. These guys have not looked good in the playoffs thus far. Now, I've said it before. I'll say it again. Grimes is a rhythm player. Got to get him in a rhythm. Is that possible in this series? I don't know. Does it need to be possible for them to win the series? I don't know. So a lot of dicey choices here. A lot of tough stuff. Ja, so focused. What's going on, Ja? This may or may not be my only super chat. Okay, you famous last words before from you. I was going to continue my Randle minutes complaint from halftime. Then towards the end, he and Quickley started making some important plays. God bless you for defending Randle today. Still, Quickley has 12 and 14 minutes at the end of 3. Need more. I mean, I completely agree. They're not winning the series if Emmanuel Quickley doesn't A, play, and B, play better. They need him. Instrumental part of their team. Jesse M. Would be nice if the team explored outside options for backup power forward. Obi Toppin just isn't it anymore. He doesn't offer enough. Look, I don't want to pile on Obi. He's a really nice role player. I was thinking about this earlier today. Like, I was getting into it with someone in the Substack chat about Obi. I don't dislike Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin's a really, really nice role player. And I think in a certain system, he could probably be even something more than that. I don't know that he is. I'm not even gonna say built for the playoffs, because we saw him come in and help them win the Cavs series when he came in and played huge minutes at the beginning of that third quarter after Andrew went down. So, like, I just don't know if this is the series for him against this team that just crosses every freaking T and dots every I. I don't know. Maybe it still can be. I'm not sure. Oh my goodness.
After who went down?
Randle?
You said Andrew.
I thought I said. I pretty sure I said Randle.
Listen, you said I heard Andrew.
Maybe that's your.
I'll let the chat confirm, but I heard Andrew. Regardless, I do think Obi could do better than me out there. I'm just gonna throw that out there. So if that was the option, then fine.
I don't know.
I agree with the sentiment, though.
Okay. All right. Here we go. This is a deep breath one. Okay. Here we go.
Yes.
I feel like I'm going into labor. HMA 187. F. Tibbs in his starting lineup and rotations. Okay. This is why you can't give this coach players like Hart. He treats them like they're Michael Jordan. I love Hart, but there's no way he should start over Grimes. All right. Listen, this is the type of reaction you're gonna get when you get a team that goes out there and plays like they just did. And again, I'd love to be the guy that sits here and be like, perspective. We're in the second round. We weren't supposed to be a 500 team. So on and so forth. Tonight's not the night for that. At some point there will be a night for that. Hopefully not like very soon. I would love for this series to go 7 games like I thought it would. I still think there's a really good chance to go 7 games. We'll see. But definitely okay to be angry after this one. Hush Zoo needs to be a lineup change. Grimes should start. Stagger minutes. The bench has given us nothing for 3 games now. We can't go on like this. Yeah, and like I kind of focused on Quickley, but like this bench was a massive part of their team. This starting really when he made the rotation change and went to a 9-man rotation. This bench was just they energized the team, and they kind of. The nice thing about the way that they deployed the bench for most of this year was it really did give Tibbs a nice bit of optionality in terms of like, how am I going to close the game today? And yes, he ended up going usually with this closing lineup that featured Quickley and Hart, but like he could go back to Grimes, he could go back to RJ. Like he had a lot of different options. I mean, we even saw him, leave Brunson on the bench that game in Miami. So doing it this way, again, it's just not working. It's just not working, and I hope he recognizes that. Hush with another one. Also, if Randle wants to play with no effort, he could kiss that New York forgiveness goodbye. Mitch has been a non-factor now, just a pure mess with this team. They are a mess right now, and that's the most disconcerting part is the vibes were, there's that word again, the vibes. The vibes were so immaculate coming off the Cleveland series. It's hard to imagine that we're sitting here after just 3 games of the Miami series, and we're not down. That's the other thing. We're not down 0-3. It's 1-2 or 2-1, I guess, whatever. And for the vibes to be this down speaks to really how poor they played today. And I think how uninspiring the Game 2 victory was to a lot of people, and how Game 1 even left a very bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. We didn't mention. I think it's the second time we've mentioned Mitch's name the whole damn post game. We're an hour in. His impact is not there, but man, I don't know. This may not be the series for him. I think Hartenstein is maybe the better of the two for this particular series. As for Julius, again, it's like it's not just missing shots. It's not just missing shots. If it was just missing shots, if it was missing shots he'd normally make, even if it was like some guys like, I don't know, like Paul George, maybe there are times when he defers too much. That's the Paul George thing. Like different star players have different, bugaboos that kind of keep them from that superstar plane. Not saying Randle would be a superstar under any circumstances, but it's just really tough when your bugaboo is like, where is this player's head at today? Just makes it really tough. Robert Cross, Mensa, how do you beat a team 3 out of 4 times in the regular season and then say, all that shit that worked, throw it out? Come on. Regular season. You said it right there. Regular season. Throw it out the window. I'm not saying throw it out the window in the sense that you're saying it, Robert. Throw the regular season out the window. It does not matter now. Not against this coach, not against this player. Go back and look at 2 of the game logs that Jimmy Butler had against the Knicks this season. He had 2 of his lowest scoring, I want to say 7 or 8 games against the Knicks. I remember those games very well. Jimmy Butler was like, he was there, but he wasn't really there. Not in the sense that he can be there. This is a different animal. I don't know what it's going to take for folks to respect the Heat and understand that, like, the Knicks are not playing well. The Knicks are not adjusting to what they're doing as well as they could be, but they are being forced to adjust. They are being put in uncomfortable positions. That's the reality of the situation. It sucks. It's shitty when your team's just getting beat, JTM, thanks to everyone at Knicks Film School. I forgot what loving the Knicks is like without you guys. Well, at least we could do. More XJ. I love XJ. On to game 4. Let's fucking go. I love that. There we go. A little injection of positivity. We needed that. I have a feeling it's going to be short-lived. Dan Hidalgo, I've been a Tibbs supporter. I still am, but I don't know how you could justify changing our starting lineup so drastically after we've been so successful. I'd rather lose playing Knicks basketball than this tough. I think in terms of how you could justify it is, again, like I know. I do want to be that guy. How many times over the course of the last 3, well, not really as much this year, but definitely the previous 2 years, have I read, tweets and articles and things from all of these, basement coaching geniuses who cite on-off numbers and advanced statistics and lineup data and this and that and this, and like, oh my God, look how great this lineup played in 120 minutes, and look at this 3-man combination and 58 possessions or this and that. Josh Hart is the best plus minus on off whatever you want to say, pretty much of anyone in basketball since he got traded to the Knicks. He's now been inserted into the starting lineup. Hasn't worked. There's a reason why you don't actually coach that way, despite what many people wanted this coach to do for many times over the last few years. Like, it has to do with, how the pieces fit, obviously. I'm certainly not smart enough to know the intricacies of all of that stuff. Nor do I pretend to sit here and be like, absolutely, he must go back to Grimes, or absolutely he can't go away from Hart. There's so many reasons that go into this stuff. Stuff that we're talking about, stuff that we're not talking about. The point is, it hasn't worked. Like, something is off about them. We now have 3 games worth of evidence to know that something is very off. So how many more games of evidence how many more games do we give it to try to either make the evidence turn around or to go back to the old way? And then if you go back to the old way and that's not working, or that doesn't work, well, then all of a sudden, you're down 3-1. Tough spot. Dan with another one. Have to double dip here. Everyone with a basic understanding of basketball would know the spacing in the starting lineup doesn't have enough shooting. Stubborn. Again, this team has overcome a lack of shooting all year because they are able to do the things that they do. They're not able to do those things right now. I think the thinking here has to have been, we're going to continue to overcome the things that we've overcome all year, which is a lack of shooting. And we're going to do it by playing our style of basketball. We're going to do it by playing smash mouth basketball. We're going to do it by relentlessly attacking the rim. You know, and like, we're going to do it with, if Jalen or Julius or RJ or Josh has an open three, we're going to take the three. And we're going to have the best of both worlds. It has not worked. Sometimes you have to see it to know that it doesn't work. But like, again, the notion that like, the implication here is like the head coach of the Knicks doesn't have a basic understanding of basketball. Come on. I feel myself slowly getting away from my pre-post game proclamation of like letting everybody have their day in the sun here with their complaints.
Which is
I'm gonna try to get.
Which is why
what, Andrew?
Which is why we take a deep breath. That's all I'm asking. Deep breath.
I just don't know how to like. No,
they're venting. They're venting. These chats came in an hour ago.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Thank you, Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was a wise move to pour the scotch before this one. Jocelyn focus with another one. Randle at the 5 with Obi at the 4. No Josh Hart on the court. I have to question whether Tibbs had too many margaritas yesterday. Hashtag Nixon 6. He's talked about that before. That's his we're down lineup. We'll throw some shit against the wall. Jocelyn focus with another one. This was that previous one was not your last super chat, I guess. I don't know if I've made it clear, but Randle has officially redeemed himself. With that said, him leading the team in minutes tonight is inexcusable. And it speaks to, I think it speaks to a couple things. I think it speaks to, well, the leading the team in minutes thing, that I don't think that would have happened had he not gone with well, for one, had they not been in foul trouble. I think that was part of it. But also, if they weren't down by as much, I don't think Randle would have led the team in minutes. But either way, it's like, Randle's his horse. Randle's his horse, whether he's playing great or whether he's playing terrible. We saw him go away from Randle in the Cleveland series for that one game down the stretch because Obi was playing well. Obi had it. Randle was clearly off. Tonight, Obi didn't really have it. He also feels like I think he needs size on the floor, which is not something that I was sure that we were going to see in this series. But, yeah. Robert Cross, was Adebayo's dive on IQ a dirty play? Hashtag 53 wins. Andrew seems to think it was not, so I'll take his word for it. But I don't know. I'd have to go back and rewatch.
Which play?
This is the one I said earlier where Adebayo landed on Quickley's ankle. You said he was coming up down from a shot attempt.
You said, okay, we were talking about the Brunson play where he stepped on Brunson's ankle because he stepped on 2 ankles today or landed on 2 ankles today.
Oh, Jesus. So that should tell you all you need to know.
The IQ play, I thought he dove for the ball and then shielded his body, with his body, shielded the ball with his body against Quickley, which led to the contact. So I don't know if that's considered dirty or not, but he clearly was trying to make contact with Quickley's lower half to protect the ball with his body. So if that's 30, that's 30.
I'm not going to put that on him.
I don't think so either, but the Miami faithful deciding to get this is the perfect time for a let's go Heat chant. This is where I will exercise caution and not say something.
Yeah, don't say anything you can regret.
Mm-hmm.
JBRI, what's going on, JBRI? Super Chat doesn't allow for enough characters to describe all the reasons the Knicks lost this game. You got that right. So buy yourself a drink on me. Back at it on Monday. Let's freaking go, Knicks. I appreciate that. Thank you. My bottle of bourbon is running low. It's probably going to be empty by the time this series is over. So I will need a new one pretty soon. So thank you. Cheers to you, JBRI. Josh so focused was back for more. He can't help himself. Getting drunk after this, regardless of what happens. So hashtag last one. Grimes needs to play more. I don't care at whose expense. I think we're getting. Look, they're only down 2-1. You got to lose 2 more games to lose a series. But we're getting close here to like if we're going to go down, how are we going to go down? You know? And this is not the first or second or third or fourth or fifth or sixth or seventh. Like I said, it is the 7th game in this postseason that they have shot the 3 ball like shit. They shot it well from 3 in one game, game 2. I agree with you. I think they got to get Grimes going. Don't really have much else to say. Robert Cross with more. Keeps coming back for more. It's your boy John. Tibbs' coaching decisions have played straight into Spoelstra's of Miami's hands. Care to retort otherwise? Hashtag 53 wins. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a lot tonight. I don't know if that's the way I would phrase it, though. I think you can certainly argue that starting hard over Grimes plays into Miami's hands because it takes Grimes off the floor and he's not there as a shooter. The part that makes me uncomfortable about the whole Grimes Hart thing is, again, it focuses on one thing, and I get why it is the thing and it should be the thing. Josh Hart's a better basketball player than Quentin Grimes. And I love Quentin Grimes. He's really good. And he does a lot of things, that help your team win. Like, was there a more popular player on the Knicks roster over the last 2 months of the season than Josh Hart? I would argue no. So it's just kind of like it leaves me in an uncomfortable place to join fully into the pylon on how dare someone be so stupid as to play this player with their starting lineup. For as much as logically, I get all the reasons why. We opened with the reasons. I opened with the reasons why it doesn't make sense to start Hart and why they should go back to Grimes. But I do think that there is something to be said for it has contributed to taking them out of a play style that they are more used to. Because when you play a certain way for the entire year, we start games a certain way for the entire year, and then you get away from that. Like, they could have a plan. But again, going back to the first 5, 6, 7 minutes of this game, like, what the hell plan did they have? And it was just like, it was staggering. Like, what was the plan on offense? Because it didn't seem to make any sense to me watching that game. So that's a big part of why I think this has become such a thing. Why it has become the thing is because they started off that game just looking, just dreadful in every way, especially on the offensive end in particular. Chris, what's going on, Chris? Not blaming the loss on Tibbs, but calling the timeout leading to the Heat challenging Brunson foul on Vincent, corner 3. Definitely a microcosm of this game. Yeah. Well, good job by you, Chris. Trying to have a little bit more of a level head here. Frank Miranda, what's up, Mac? It's your boy Frank from Patreon. Tibbs is not sticking with the lineup that's been producing all season is head scratching. Also, why is it Randle and Tibbs' low points always seem to coincide? Probably not a coincidence. That's all I'll say to that. Richard, what's going on, Richard? Great to hear you are feeling better. And I'm sorry the Knicks couldn't hold up their end of the bargain to aid your recovery today. As bad as this game was, we have to remember it's only one game, and we could still get back home tied by turning it around in Game 4. Always darkest before the dawn. Well, Richard, that is many years of experience and many years of watching basketball speaking, and a good job by you being level-headed. Only one game. You win or you learn. Gotta hope they learn in more ways than one. Appreciate that, man. Thank you as always. There are 82 game coaches and 16 game coaches. Okay. Thanks, Justin, for that. Get the implication. Robert Cross, I've seen enough of Josh Hart in the starting lineup for the rest of the playoffs. Hashtag 53 wins. I gathered as much. Thank you, Robert. Ja, so focused. I thought you were done, Ja. Beat ourselves and the coach let it happen. I think they contributed. They definitely beat themselves a bit. I think the Heat deserve a little bit of a tip of the cap. That's all. As well as their coach. Busy. Oh my goodness. I can't wait to hear what this is going to be. 1 out of 2. Okay, here we go. I hope the tone of this post game isn't that we lost because we missed our threes. This is not why we lost. We aren't a good 3-point shooting team. Well, that's actually not quite true, as Tom Piccolo said in the show that we had him on earlier this week. They are a pretty good 3-point shooting team, but as we talked about at the top, they're a good 3-point shooting team when they shoot threes on their terms, not the terms that the Heat want them shooting them. Wait, hold on. I didn't get to the end of the last one. We're not going to shoot at or near our regular season average against a playoff defense. Yeah, we already talked about that. Okay, the next part. We lost because of the 50-50 plays we didn't make, and that's on the players. We also lost because the coach failing to realize his way doesn't always work and maybe try something new. He tried too late to field the lineup that was mobile to keep up with the Heat's motion offense, but too late. Lastly, what's the point of starting Hart to guard Butler if Butler's still going to cook him? I think he makes some great points there, Busy. I think more movement, more activity. Now, going with a lineup late to counter the Heat motion offense, like that means speed on defense. That means anticipation on defense. So I'm hearing Quickley. I'm hearing Grimes. Maybe a little Josh Hart. I mean, those are your best defenders. So as far as the 50-50 plays, completely agree. Yeah, coach seems to be outsmarting himself. Will Oliver trying to stay positive, but I also need a drink. I don't blame you. Listen, don't. Again, this is not the day to take a step back and be like, look at all that we've accomplished and look at where this team is at, this franchise is at, and this roster is at as a whole. It's not the day for that. But if you're having trouble falling asleep at night. Juanon, what's going on, Juanon? This was bad, very bad. Body language was off from the first Randle air ball over Bam on the first possession. Thank you for bringing that up, Juanon. We're due for a good game. We haven't had one during the series, despite it being 2-1. That first possession, man, it started right from there. How is that the first possession of the game? That was dreadful. That was utterly dreadful. That was the most piss-poor shot attempt I've seen to start off a game, I think, all year. And it absolutely set the tone. And you're right. The body language sucked. And I thought the body language sucked all day. Are we due for a good game? Yeah, I don't know. What's the character of this team? What's the character of this team? And who's going to step up? That's the other question. Who do you have confidence to step up for this team? Because here's part of the problem. If I'm making my list of players that I have the most confidence in right now to step up and make plays for this team, I think Jalen Brunson's number 1 on my list. And I think Josh Hart is 2 on my list. And yet, we all seem to be in agreement that, Josh Hart shouldn't start games. And, that's the other part of it where, we're talking about Tibbs overthinking it, and he certainly seems to be here. But, what does starting Josh Hart do? It allows you to play Josh Hart more minutes. And, again, I know sitting here right now after 3 games, after 8 playoff games, after 40, however many games, 35 games that Josh Hart has been a Knick, he is the player on the roster that right now, going into game 4 of this series, I have the second most confidence in of anyone on this roster after Jalen Brunson. So, how do you reconcile that? How do you deal with that? I don't know. And who else is going to step up? Is Quickley healthy enough to step up? Are we trusting Randle to step up in game 4? Is RJ going to have the opportunity to step up? How much are they going to put the ball in his hands? Grimes. I mean, Grimes. What did Grimes actually shoot today? Took four threes, made 1. That's the other part of it. Like the guy we're all clamoring for to get in the starting lineup. He's hitting. I don't know what percentage he's hitting on threes in the postseason. It's not great. Haitian Ferg, throwaway game. Okay, here we go. Level-headedness. Bench outperformed again. Starters brought no intensity. Agreed. Randle ankle still tender. Possibly. That's a good point. Randle, maybe his ankle is still tender. Miami will not outshoot you, but they will pummel you into submission. We some nasty Coach Pop. I appreciate you injecting some positivity here, Haitian. I needed it. Ham DM. Wow. I don't usually get these after games like this. Thank you very much. Hey, John, I don't envy you. I wouldn't want to talk to anyone right now. It's about heart and mind. I didn't see the heart part, and the intelligence wasn't there either. No and no. Remember how you always say this team always rebounds, so I have faith. Well, Hamdi, thank you for that. First of all, your generosity is no bounds throughout this entire season, and especially during this postseason. So really do appreciate it. I want to believe that. I want to believe that. I wonder how different it is in a playoff series when we talk about they'll come back and they'll like they always rebound, right? And they do, and this all year they have. Unlike any team I've ever seen in my life rooting in professional sports. In the regular season, like next game, it's a team that there was minimal game planning for you. And I do think this is part of the knock on Tibbs is his teams never get too low because okay, they may have a game where it doesn't work out or they don't hit shots or they maybe do get out hustled or out game planned or out this or out that. If he's your coach, historically, that will not last. You will come back and you will be resilient. Wasn't the case last year. In fairness, was not the case last year. But that's why last year was such a weird year. And yet, look at what they did in the second half of the post All-Star break in terms of the defense they played, and they got back to a level of respectability, so they deserve credit for that. So I guess in that way they did kind of embody that ethos. That's not going to be the case in this series. Like you're not going to come out and out effort the Heat in the next game. You're certainly not going to out game plan the Heat in the next game. You are going to have a formula for scoring on this team, and I'll say stopping this team, but I think they've done an okay job with defense. I agree with DJ's point he made at the top, which is don't cower to Jimmy Butler in a way where you're compromising the rest of your defense. I agree with that. Even so, I think for the most part they've done a nice job defensively against this Heat team, which is not a great offensive team. I think it comes down to what is your game plan? What is their game plan going to be out of the gate in game 4? How are they going to generate good offense? Because in game 1, they were completely stymied in the second half. Once the Heat kind of got themselves adjusted and kind of got into a rhythm and did what they wanted to do, the Heat completely shut them down in the second half. In game 2, there was no Jimmy Butler, so you could kind of not throw that game out the window in terms of the result and earning the result, but in terms of how they went about executing their offense in that game, you have to take it with a massive grain of salt. And in this game, they had Jalen Brunson or Jimmy Butler back, and like, you put Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo on the same floor, it's a different animal. So, what is their game plan? How are they going to score? How are they going to get good shots? Now, it may be as simple as just they get the same shots that they had tonight and they make them, because they make shit tonight, or today. It may be that simple. I mean, maybe that's what they're due for. Maybe they're due for just another hot shooting game that like they had in game 2. I don't know. I would expect them to come out and play harder. And I think the most challenging thing, and this is the last thing I'll say on this, is, and this is why I think DJ Zulo made such a great point to start, like, how does Jalen Brunson come out in game 4? And that is going to be, I frankly don't envy him at all, because what are your two choices? Your two choices are, okay, I'm going to try to get my teammates involved, and I'm going to try to like use my offensive gravity to get good shots from my teammates. Okay. So then you're taking the ball out of your own hands. Or the alternative is like, I'm putting the team on my back tonight, in which case you're going to just putting it on yourself to make a lot of tough shots and kind of not restricting the offense, but like what we talked about earlier, like you're preventing the offense from getting in a flow. So that, that's why the point guard, it's the toughest job. And again, I don't envy the position he's in. His teammates could help him out by being better, but I don't envy the position he's in for game 4. Because if they win game 4, they're going to win it because of Jalen Brunson. We could talk about it, whatever the hell else we want. Frank Miranda with another one. What's up, Mac? It's your boy Frank from Patreon. This team is not ready. They don't look ready. And it's okay, because there's a rite of passage that usually occurs before taking that next step. This is theirs, and the change is coming with RJ or Randle this summer. Well, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves with the change that is coming, but this is perhaps the wisest comment that we have gotten in the entire postgame, because like no team waltzes into the playoffs. And like, this is a fresh team. All due respect to the team 2 years ago, this team has a different DNA. They have a different energy to them. They have a different kind of structure in terms of how they go about their business. Teams, especially teams that kind of have the, I'm done questioning the Knicks talent, but like, it's very rare that a team where the Knicks are at in their growth trajectory comes into the playoffs and just like waltzes their way to a conference finals. That doesn't happen. So, which is yet another reason why I was very trepidatious at all of the confidence coming into this series. Anyway, thanks, Frank. Greg, what's going on, Greg? I still believe the series is going 7. Hope so. And will take a decade from me in the process. Hopefully it's worth it. Let's go Knicks, please. Let's go KFS always. Thank you, Greg. That's really kind of you. You're always very kind and generous. Yeah, man. It's funny. Today was the easiest game I had probably in the playoffs to watch. I was like kind of sitting back and being like, they suck today. They don't have it. It's not going well because it wasn't a nail biter. Dom Cappuccino, what's going on, Dom? Game 2 of the last round seemed to be only up from here. I'd like to say if corrections are made, then maybe they could respond like they did the last round. Quickley's possible absence definitely puts a wet blanket on those feelings. Little bit of a different story because they were coming home to MSG, and I think in retrospect, for as good as several individual players played in games 3 and 4 of that series, I think the MVP of the first round, at least in games 3 and 4, was the Madison Square Garden crowd, because the Cleveland Cavaliers they couldn't handle it, and they were thrown from the opening tip, and it set the tone for both games. So we're not getting that for game 4. And for game 5, the Heat are not rattled. So it comes down to what they're going to do. And yeah, Quickley's absence could definitely hurt, although he needs to play better. So Silent Sniper, what's going on, Silent? Honestly, at this point, Tibbs is going to have to try something new and open up the bench and rotation. Might as well. See that to me, that's like you're grasping for straw. They're not at that point yet. I mean, even I was drastic to start suggesting like start Quickley and Grimes. That would be drastic, and I don't think they should be drastic at this point. Go back to the starting lineup that got you here. Sean, what's going on, Sean? In 2007, a team changed its starting lineup before Game 1 versus an 8th seed. They lost Game 1 and the series. Those that don't know their history are doomed to repeat it. I believe that
Believe being
Sean
the keyword.
Yes. Sean is talking about the We Believe Warriors, and that was a extraordinary Mavs team that won 60 some odd games that year, and then they lost in I think they lose in 6 games, I think.
Yep, 6 games. 67 win team.
Yeah, again, Sean, I'll just give you the same context that I'm giving everybody else, which is like, let's not pretend, that there is no reason to do this. There are reasons why you want Josh Hart on the floor more, and there are reasons why you would want Josh Hart on the floor to start games. I get it. I think it was a worthy experiment. That said, I think it was notable that we questioned it right from the start. We questioned it right from the start. And we're now 3 games in, and the offense has looked how it's looked. That's the problem, I think. It's like confirmation bias, Doesn't mean the alternative would be better, but it certainly seems like what we've gotten has not worked.
Can I ask a question, John?
Sure.
So we have 12 left, by the way, so I'll make this quick. Do you think that people are clamoring for Josh Hart, like, to sit? Like, I think people would be fine if he played the exact same number of minutes or 38 minutes, but it's the how, it's the process, it's the same rotation that we went with. Like, Quentin Grimes playing 22 minutes today isn't the problem. It's that he wasn't with the starters. Hart playing 38 minutes today isn't the problem. It's that what's worked with him, with Quickley, him with the bench, him with Obi, like, it's just throwing everything all out of whack.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we were clear about this at the top. It is very specific in that it is the injection of a player in your starting lineup that wants to shoot threes. That is what he wants to do. Right now, they don't have a single player in the starting lineup that is their ideal shot that they want to take on any given possession. They want to do other things. The thing where I think it's tricky is, like, so there are possessions where they may be playing off Josh Hart's guy a little bit. They may be playing off Josh Hart's guy a lot. They may be playing off RJ's guy a little bit. They may be playing off RJ's guy a lot. Anytime that a defense is playing off of players and giving a player runway, there are ways to take advantage of that. And there was a possession I remember in the second half, I want to say it was in the third quarter, where they were doing that to Josh Hart, and Josh Hart took the runway, and he took it all the way to the basket, and he took a shot that I think he makes probably 8 times or 7 times out of 10, and he missed it. Now, that's one instance. But, like, the notion that you cannot still have a drive and kick offense with a bunch of guys who don't want to shoot threes, but are, as Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson for his position, and RJ Barrett and Julius Randle are very physical. The notion that you can't do that, I think, is silly. Now, I think it's hard to do that against Miami, the way that they're playing and the way that they're defending the Knicks. I think Miami's making it very, very difficult. But I also think the Knicks, putting aside the starting lineup decision, are making it kind of easier for them, because not only do they have a lineup out there where nobody really wants to shoot a three, but they are still kind of going about their offense in the same way that they've gone about it all year, which is very ISO heavy and methodical. And but the thing that bugged me today, to start the game at least, was they didn't matchup hunt, which is what the Knicks have done all year. And that's what I really want to go back and rewatch, because what were they down in this game? Like, they were down, like, for most of the game, the lead was in the mid to low teens, right? That disadvantage was solidified within, I'm looking at it right now, it was solidified within 7 minutes.
Yeah.
When it was 19-8. Like, I want to go back and rewatch those first 7 minutes and see, like, what are you doing? Because they weren't trying, like, nothing that they were generating made any sense. And it has left us in this place where everybody's, well, like, clearly taking Josh Hart and putting Quentin Grimes in is the answer. Like, yes, of course, I think that would help. But, like, again, we're talking about a second-year player who is not exactly lighting it up from three in this postseason.
But Benji made the point after game 2. It's not about whether he's lighting it up or not. The results don't matter. It's how they guard him. It's what the process then looks like.
Yes, and my point is, I am almost wondering right now, let's say Quentin Grimes starts game 4.
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to be that much looser? Or are they going to say, you know what, if Quentin Grimes is going to beat us, Quentin Grimes is going to beat us? Now, I think it would be a little looser for the Knicks offense. And I think that would certainly matter. But I guess the only pushback that I want to give is the notion that they could not be successful with this lineup is silly, because you can absolutely be successful in this lineup. Like, we've seen it be successful not only in the regular season but in the postseason. Because Quentin Grimes got hurt in what game? Against Cleveland.
In game 3. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they went with this starting lineup for the next 2 games, and, like, they won both of those games.
Yes, it took I don't want to fully blame Julius for what happened for the first 3 quarters of game 4, but it did take more spacing in a different lineup that we just haven't seen all season to win that 4th quarter in game 4.
They brought it home, but they were also up.
They were up by 2 in the 4th quarter, yes.
Going into the fourth quarter, and that was despite
an
absolutely dreadful game from Julius Randle.
That's why I'm trying to your point, be like, okay, yes, they did find success with that. I don't know. I think the more frustrating part, like, I hear what you're saying. You can be successful with this, but I'm honestly, like, Benji made the point the other night, and during his film session, he highlighted it. Like, they guard Quentin Grimes differently. The second unit plays differently
100%.
with him, which is why I think everybody's frustrated that what got you here is
1,000%,
not a thing that you're trying to go with now to try and win with.
1,000%. But again, I've said this before. My goal always is to just try to get everybody to see all of the perspectives, including the unpopular one. And the unpopular perspective right now is that there was some logic behind this decision. And whereas the approach at this moment, based on that game that we just watched, which was one of the most dreadful viewing experiences that any of us have had in some time, the notion that you're going to try to think of the positive from the thing that was tried and failed so spectacularly is silly. But I do think that it warrants some modicum of perspective to say, like, okay, let's not sit here and pretend that there are no reasons for doing this. There are reasons for doing it and trying it. It is a matter of, when do you get to a point where, okay, we've done it, we've tried it, we no longer have enough confidence in this to keep trying it. And I think there was an argument that we were at that point before this game, and there is certainly a very good argument that we are at the point after this game.
I think the frustration you're feeling with the comments today are that people were at this point in game 1. And I mean, it's literally what Benji said on the pod the other day before game 2. And then after game 2's 4th quarter, when you saw you can even see it today. Like, those first 7 minutes were awful. Then they put some shooting into the game, and it's like, oh, wow, there's space. What do you know? Like, DJ, one of his tweets today was that you inject Grimes or Quickley into the lineup, and then suddenly they're spacing on the floor. It makes it
seem very obvious when whatever they're going for with the lineup that they're currently trotting out there seems to not have anything going for it. that's what makes it so obvious, and makes it so obvious. Like, well, obviously you try the other thing, and in a short playoff series, like it shouldn't take that long. You know, you don't have a lot of time,
especially when you have a thing that for the majority of the regular season worked. I see what you're saying. You're giving the other perspective. I think the frustration that everyone's feeling,
it did work.
Go away, Josh Hart. It's like,
I know
this formula that we have, this rotation that we had. Like, if anything, it's actually uncharacteristic for Tibbs, because to your point, last year it was like, why isn't Quickley starting? Why is like he actually made the adjustment ahead of time? Where it's like, wait, the rotation you actually found that you were sticking to worked, even if people were saying like I get the text all the time, why isn't Josh Hart starting? And now here we are 3 games in, and I was always saying like he's actually found a rotation that's worked. And now we're 3 games in, and I'm wondering why he made the switch preemptively.
It worked before. It worked perfectly. It worked for them. It worked for them, and what they're doing right now is not working for them. You know, that's all there is to it, and that's all that matters, frankly.
Wanted to talk that out. That's all.
Yeah, no, listen. I'm not in disagreement with anybody. I just try to offer perspective. That's all. Bet you didn't know. Let Jimmy beat you. LOL. Kidding, right?
So DJ had a point of like, stop doubling Jimmy. Let Jimmy beat you first. I think what he was trying to say is like, Jimmy Butler was limping for the majority of the second half.
Yeah,
and the Knicks did not switch up the game plan, and it's why like Max Strus was able to do some things. Kyle Lowry was able to do some things, and like it was like, switch it up, or like you don't have to treat Jimmy like he's Michael Jordan. He's not that guy at the moment, you know.
Yeah, I would. I think just switching up your coverages on Jimmy. I mean, they get a lot of stuff when Miami gets a lot of stuff out of when they bring extra attention to Jimmy Butler. That's why he's one of the best players in the sport. Because you can't stop him. Whatever you do, it's going to probably end poorly for you. Anthony Sixto, I feel awful, but all season long, our low points led to a major bounce back. Barkley mentioned Randle had no respect for the Heat game 2, and it worked. As physical as it's been, we need to win psychologically. Yeah, and I worry about that because I don't know that there is a mentally stronger team, roster, organization, whatever, in the league than the Heat. It's going to be tough. Josso focused with hashtag last one. I haven't seen a single positive thing that Hart has brought to the openings of games. Hart's importance is down the stretch, not the start. I mean, that's pigeonholing it a little bit. He's doing good things out there whenever he's out there. It's just not as obvious because it's being overshadowed by the negatives. But he's doing good things, I think. Sam Garcia's dad, what's up, Ray? I turned the game off in the third. I'm hoping this is just a game they could put behind them. I hope so. They better. I mean, learn from it. But, yeah, put it behind you. Bet you didn't know with another one. Heat fan here. Y'all could barely beat our others. You have no chance. Heat in 5. Team ball always beats ISO Knicks. I mean, look, you guys, I was feeling pretty good about the Heat before this game, after 2 games, and feeling better about them now. What's up, Sass? How you doing? You guys should be confident. Absolutely. You guys should. I'd be confident if I was a Heat fan. Shit. I'd probably think I'm going to the finals.
Okay, so John said the very respectful thing. Yes, I agree. The Heat have earned our respect. I'm not just going to say it like, fuck you and your entire fan base for applauding and getting a Miami Heat chant out when Emmanuel Quickley is being carried off the floor.
Well, they don't know any better. They're rubes from the South.
Right.
It may be a neon-clad South, but they're still rubes.
John, I don't care. That was classless. That was awful. You late arriving losers. Go enjoy live while you're not still underwater.
Don't pick on the ignorant. Jesus Christ. Let them have their sand. Sam Garcia, Andrew is Guardians of the Galaxy 3, a top 5 Marvel film. Don't say anything too much about it. I haven't seen it yet.
No? I'll hear top 10.
That's encouraging. Hopefully going to see that tomorrow. I don't know
Kept
if I
it as vague as possible, by the way.
I'm gonna try. Hopefully, I could see that tomorrow. It depends on the little one. Dom with another one. Thank you again, Dom. Appreciate you, man. Missed open looks, the storyline. So listen, I think again, this is a game that could get the different opinions. We've heard like, don't make this about the missed shots. Now Dom's saying it's about the missed shots. I think this series is starting to be about a young and experienced team losing poise against a tested playoff team. I think that's part of it, but I think a lot of the points people have raised tonight, as far as all of the things, are very valid. Missed open looks, all above the neck issues. Next two games are a must win, and that really is like, at the end of the day, again, we're sitting here. Everybody's very, very, very totally within their right. It's very valid. 100%. There's low-hanging fruit here that we're seemingly not taking. They shot 8 of 40 from 3. And they shot 31 of 91 from the field. Oh, my God. Oh, Lord. 31 of 91. 6 free throws, too. Dom with another one. Either way, young and inexperienced this season still has been a resounding success. Let's not forget that at this moment, guys. Well, I think that's very easily being forgotten by pretty much everybody watching this. But yeah, again, today's not the day for that. Today's not the day for that. Whatever happens, let's say our Heat fan friend that just chimed in on the super chats is right, and the Heat win this series in 5, and the Knicks go down with a whimper in the next 2 games. It doesn't change anything about how big this season was for this franchise and how important it is to have a guy like Jalen Brunson and some other very, very legitimate pieces. That none of that's changing in this series, but we're in it. We're in it. We want to win it. Not over yet. Too early for that kind of talk. Ja, you're too much, man. Ja's so focused. Had to come back to respond. John, I agree in totality about giving the Heat respect, but for this game, it's fair to point out the Knicks didn't play their game. They lose this game if it's any. They lose this game if it's any team. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally. Yeah. No, we're in agreement there, Ja. We're in agreement. Thank you for the generous contribution to come back and make your point in response to my point. Yeah. No, they played like shit. They played like shit. They look in the mirror. Look in the mirror before you look in the other direction. But the only pushback that I'll offer is we do have to ask ourselves why do we look so out of sorts, right? Whether it's making a starting lineup adjustment that maybe didn't need to be made, or taking the types of shots that we're taking and missing, and Randle doing whatever the hell Randle was doing out there today, and trying to score on offense in a way that it's not how this team goes about their business. All those sorts of things. Like the Heat are coming into the game. I feel like it's a chicken or the egg discussion. You know what I mean? Like there are other teams that like you walk into a game during the regular season and they're just not that prepared. So, and you're going to be able to out talent your way to a win. Obviously, that's not the case right now. Tehran Blow. What's going on, Tehran Blow? This series is over. To be honest, this was never a series. The only reason why it seems like a series is because the media is filled with New York media. Anyone with a brain knows that. I feel like we got some more heat infiltration here. I don't think the series is over yet. I'll say that. Sam Garcia's dad back for some more. Thank you again for the generosity. This is first 2. I don't want Tibbs fired. I don't want Julius gone. I realize that this team is still filled with kids who look like kids in the playoffs, and our vets aren't guys who have won anything in the playoffs like Lowry or Love. That's extraordinarily wise from you, as usual, Ray. This is an example of what Giannis was talking about. This playoff series, which the Knicks can still win, will either be a great story or a stepping stone for the future. Well, that's obviously an incredibly mature way to think about it. I think the reason tonight that people are having a little bit of a difficult time with it is, and this is like again, it's part of the DNA of certainly the last 2 seasons with this team is the feeling like we have that this coach does not like there is a very, very, very serious distrust of this coach from this fan base. And because of that distrust and because they played so poorly tonight, you're going to combine those two things. And especially when the coach has given everybody this low-hanging fruit here of making this starting lineup change that on its face is not one that should have been made, and the results have seemingly been poor. You're going to get all of the focus on that as opposed to the focus on, hey, we're a young team, all the things you just mentioned. So I'm not surprised, but I appreciate your perspective, Ray. What day is the first? My daughter just handed me a note. What day is the first day of May? It's May 6th. Why do you want to know that? You just do? Okay. So the first day of May was 6 days ago. Why do you still have your ballet uniform on? All right. I'm going to put your pajamas on. Robert Cross, it's your boy John. Vibes are down, not because we are losing, but how we are losing. See, this is what I was just talking about. Some of us think we are playing into the Heat's hands. Hashtag 53 wins. Okay, and of course, everybody thinks they're playing into the Heat hands because we got, several thousand aspiring head coaches there in the fan base here. It's never fun when you lose. There's always second guessing. Whether it's this coach or anybody else, whether there's a starting lineup change or not a starting lineup change. And part of what's going to be ugly and unfortunate about if this series continues to go the way this game went is there's a lot of that's going to generate a ton of the attention. And yeah. Haitian Ferg with another one. Always appreciate you, Haitian. Thank you. The bench not playing all that well. Be careful what you wish for. Grimes needs to aggressively shoot. Yes. Reminds me of how Novak disappeared in the playoffs. You're not going to be wide open all the time. Yeah, it's different ball game in the playoffs. Different ball game, but it is what it is. Got to adjust, and like playoffs tell you who's legit. Ant T. It's not the same team. They're clearly played different. Adjustments have to be made. Yeah. All 4 adjustments. Matt G. It's as much about how much heart helps the bench. Well, this I very much agree with, and this is the point that I think they probably thought up and down about the pluses and minuses of having heart with the starting 5. It doesn't seem like enough consideration was given to the effect that it would have on the bench. IQ, RJ, Obi like to run. Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, more half-court style. Need to box out better as a team. I didn't think they boxed out well today at all. It's a good point, Matt. Appreciate you bringing that up. Josso focused. You think part of the reason Randle led the team in minutes is foul trouble? He led the team with 4. Desperate, yes, but again, what did he do to earn it tonight? Nothing. He was terrible. He was awful. But we know that Tibbs is going to ride him, Has since the day he got here. And Dom Cappuccini with yet another one. Thank you, Dom. Appreciate you, man. Going back to MSG 2-2 all of a sudden is a monumental challenge. I mean, it was always going to be a big challenge. Thought that from the first game of the series, just get it back to MSG 2-2. I'd like to say we just need Quickley, Hart, and Biggs to swing the series. Or maybe Quentin, Hart, and Biggs to swing the series. It's on the whole team. They've been down this road before. Let's see what they got. Well, they have not been down this road before because they have not been down this road in the postseason. It's a different animal. And the only guy who has been this far in the postseason is Jalen Brunson. And say this about Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson doesn't look rattled one bit. Yeah, I know Jalen Brunson did not have his best game today by any stretch of the imagination. Took him 20 shots to get 20 points. Did have 8 assists and no turnovers, which we kind of gloss over that. I thought Jalen Brunson played really well for the most part in terms of as the game went on. I thought Jalen Brunson got better. I agree with what DJ said about him early on, that he was not doing a great job getting others involved. We'll see how they respond. Josso focused. This is becoming as good a bit as 53 wins. Hashtag last one for real. This sangria is not strong enough. I trust this won't happen, but today is making me question if the Knicks go out with a whimper like they did against Atlanta, it will be hard not to overreact. Play harder. Well, and then hashtag last one, another one from Josso focused. Continue to play hard even if it's not working. Yeah, the Atlanta series made us question the structural foundation of this team. But the other thing with the Atlanta series is nobody ever thought that the structural foundation of that Knicks team was winning anything anyway. I think this team, there was definitely a sentiment that hey, speaking of hashtags, hashtag why not us, maybe they do have enough. I think that's another hashtag. We have enough, right? This was always a stepping stone season, so I think how individuals perform in this series should inform decision making. And that includes the coach. But in terms of leaving a sour taste, this Knicks team made it to the second round of the playoffs, and it is a legit, they did it legitimately. They won 47 games and they beat a good team in the first round, despite what some people, want to say. So I am going to have a very, 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 very difficult time coming off the season, no matter how the series ends, feeling anything but very positive about where this team is at, where this organization is at, where the roster is at. Yes, I include the coach in that. I think they're very, very well coached, even if we can, quibble about this decision. But again, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. We got more games to play. Jason with another one, or Jason, actually, I don't know if this is another one. Either way, Jason M. Grimes has shot 14% from 3 in the playoffs. He's not the answer the way people are saying. He has not been ready for the moment. Stop blaming Tibbs. You and me are probably on a bit of an island there, Jason. But again, I'll push back against the point that I've been making for most of this postseason, or for most of this post game, which is that Grimes is a rhythm shooter, and he hasn't really had an opportunity to get into a rhythm. Would that make a difference? Again, we don't know. We don't know. Haitian Ferg with another one. I meant to quote Greg Popovich. We need some nasty. The Heat are doing to us what we did to the Cavs. Crazy enough, we got to buck up and play harder. I completely agree with that. Appreciate that, Haitian. And I agree, we got to buck up and play harder. Dom, you're too much, man. Dom Cappuccini. Tidbit about me. I live near and work at Riley's hometown, Schenectady. That's a fun fact. A lot of my older relatives who grew up with him still speak glowingly. I have nothing but a knife in my 11-year-old self's heart. Sorry, not sorry. Go Knicks. Yeah, Riley, man. Most influential NBA, not influential, one of the most important NBA figures of the last 50 years. Crazy what that man has accomplished. Oh, look, it's Fred Katz. Hi, Fred. If any fans are feeling down, I'll tell you a fun fact to up your spirits. In Men in Black, the actor who plays New York Mets left fielder Bernard Gilkey is New York Mets left fielder Bernard Gilkey. I forgot his name, but I think I remember at the time that was a real Met. The guy who gets the ball conked off his head because he's up he's staring at the spaceship in, I guess, left field. I was going to say center field, but left field. That's a good fact, Fred. Thank you for that. Big B, hope IQ's okay, but maybe deuce minutes can help. Look, if it's one thing it seems like this team needs right now, maybe a spark. I know Deuce has done pretty good with that this season. Josh so focused, just can't help himself. Don't think we should analyze how much the Heat has to do with the Knicks play today when shooting air balls over Bam to open and play with no energy. Yep. Just saying. Yep. Sean Hardy, Sean with the W. What's going on? Sean, the series is still up for grabs. Let's grab it. I agree the series is still up for grabs. As down as we all are, watch if we win on when's the next game? Monday night. Flip it on its head. Come out, play hard, make shots. Blitzing Hound Dog. Glad Julius Randle held his composure when Zeller punked him. I don't know if I describe it as a punking, but I agree that good job by him maintaining his composure. Dom the Dentist. At the end of the day, we're ahead of schedule. More perspective. I appreciate that. Thank you, Dom. And Dom Cappuccini, Knicks in 7. I don't know how, but fuck it. Why not? Chin up all the way. We still back. I like it. I don't know. That's how we're ending. Okay. Look, I know today was tough, guys. I know I probably didn't make. I did not stay true to my pre-post game. I didn't lose my shit on anybody.
No, you didn't.
I think it was composed.
Yeah.
Right.
You did as good a job as you possibly could, John.
That is the most backhand.
I didn't. Listen. You definitely didn't tell anybody that if they're questioning the coach that they're an aspiring head coach. You definitely didn't tell anybody that the thing you said at the beginning of the show that the Knicks are playing the Heat style. The Heat are forcing us to play their way. And then when somebody's like, we're playing into their Heat hands, you're like, what are you talking about? We're not playing into the Heat hands.
No, we are playing into the Heat's hands. I didn't disagree with that.
Which is what Robert said. And then you called him an aspiring head coach.
No, because it's just one side. I just, you know me with the one-sidedness. It's never one-sided. None of this stuff is one-sided.
I agree. And everybody got their venting out, and now we move on to game 4.
The only thing there's literally just one thing that's irking me. It's not the tip stuff at all. It's the lack of respect for Miami. Again, look at what this team has done with this core for the most part. The Bam, let's call it the Bam Jimmy core. Bam Jimmy Spo, right? Mm-hmm. Bam Jimmy Spo. Just look at what they've like. That can't be smoke and mirrors.
This isn't the game to point that out, though. To Josh Sofokus's point, like the Heat shot 40% from the field today, John. They shot under 30% from 3. This was largely a game the Knicks could have won had they played their game. They scored 105 points in what was supposed to be a blowout.
And all I would say in response to that is not that I don't know that there's a way to do this, but go back and look at any comments from any fans of any of the teams that have lost playoff games to the Heat in any of the last 4 years. And I guarantee you, you're going to be hearing a lot of the same shit. This one's on us. This is not what the Heat did.
I have respect for Miami. I adjusted my pick to Knicks in 6 and Knicks in 7. This isn't the game where I left being like, oh, we're just the Heat have that pedigree. They're
exactly
way too good.
Exactly.
This is a game where I thought the Knicks should have played better.
And that is because the way the Heat do it is with smarts and with again maybe I should have said it out. Like obviously the Tibbs is getting out coached in this series.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a question. They have the best head coach in the sport. They have the best head coach since Jesus Christ.
Best head coach in the sport. I'm not sure where we'd put him on like an all-time thing, but yeah, he's it's why
from a tactical standpoint,
yeah.
Just like pure like X's and O's. Man, because like when you talk about Riley, when you talk about Phil, when you talk about I guess Pop, like a lot of that was motivation and culture building and all that stuff. And he does all of that too. He does all of that, but that's also organizational too. But from a tactical standpoint, I mean, I mean, it's flawless.
He's been the difference maker in this series.
Well,
I agree, John. You can't have it that like the adjustment that Tibbs made to go to the starting lineup isn't as big a deal because of what Spo is doing, and the Heat are better.
But here's the other. There's one other part of that. That's why we always joke about the hashtag Heat culture. This is why a hashtag Heat culture is real. It is from the top all the way down through the bottom. They have a standard of every player they bring through the door, whether you are the first pick in the draft or whether you were not a consideration on draft night. And they prepare you in such a way, and if you are not capable of being prepared in that way, well, you're not going to be part of the team, and you're not going to get on the floor. And like, I completely agree with you that Spo has been the difference in this series, but they give credit to the guys that they are putting out there that are executing the game plan, and the organization for being in a position that they continue to find these guys and get these. This is not an accident that they always find these guys and get these guys who they could plug into their system and look good.
On the whole, I agree with you. I think that's why they were able to, partly because Giannis got hurt and some other stuff happened in the Bucks series. I think that's why they beat the Bucks. I think that's why they have gotten to this point. Josh has another one, so this is perfect. This is not.
You can't have it both ways, John.
That's the thing he just said. Like, this is not the game to be like, oh, look, like this is the Miami Heat culture is what beat us today. No, the Knicks, are shooting themselves in the foot.
I don't understand why we need to pick one or the other, because when you have a team that is so sound in their approach and that is so smart in their game plan,
John, they shot 38% from the field today. Like, this isn't a game where they played all that well. And every
shot the Heat took is a shot that they wanted to take. Their offensive process and defensive process on every possession in this game, because this is the way it is in every possession of every freaking game, is so sound. Whereas you come into a team and play them. When you're the Knicks, you come into and you play the Heat and you look all out of sorts. My point is that the Knicks are not the first team, and the Knicks will not be the last team to go into Miami or to play the Heat in their own building, for that matter, and look out of sorts.
And I'm saying, and I think the point that Ja's been trying to make, if the Knicks played the Charlotte Bobcats the way they played today,
well, see, and that's where I disagree.
Lose.
And I completely and totally disagree.
You think they would have beaten the Cavs playing this way today?
I don't know about they played really bad. And maybe they don't beat the Cavs. And
they scored 86 points. The third best offense in the league scored 86 points today.
Okay, how'd they look in game 2 against the Cavs? They look like shit then too.
They did. That's why I said that they probably don't beat the Heat in that game either.
There are a lot of games in the regular season where you can, if you're the Knicks, you could out talent and out physical your way to a win. They didn't do that. They couldn't do that tonight. They can't do that against this team.
Which is why I thought the lack of effort and the hustle plays.
Yeah, it was glaring.
Which that's an effort thing. That's a Knicks issue. That's a Knicks specific issue. I'm not saying that the Miami Heat don't deserve credit. Okay, I'm not. Again, I changed my pick from Knicks in 6 to Knicks in 7. I have officially ruled them the Patriots. To say that the Knicks playing better isn't something they could have personally corrected, I'm not there yet. At least I'm not there tonight. At least.
The Knicks can play better.
Miami. They can lose. The Knicks can lose this series. I'm with you there. You can also say that, I think they lose to the Hawks if they play tonight. I think they lose to the Nets if they play this way tonight.
Okay. We could go round and round and round in circles. In this postseason alone, let me just make sure I don't forget anybody. Hold on here. Again, I know we only care about our team and nothing else matters. I get that. In this postseason, I have watched. Make sure I'm not missing anybody. Not Denver. Sacramento was only really game 7, so I'll give them a pass. And I'll actually give the Clippers a pass too because of the injuries they suffered. Although they were running some like all guard lineups out there that had their fans looking and being like, is our coach intentionally trying to lose? And there was like a little Twitter thread that allegedly purported that their coach was doing things that were trying to lose. Okay, so I'm not gonna include the Clippers. Other than Denver and other than Sacramento, and I guess other than Miami, every team in this postseason has had not one but multiple moments where their fans were sitting there watching a game and were like, what the fuck what was that? Like, that was hot garbage. We suck. Nothing is ever going right again. This is the NBA. It's playoff basketball. It was what happens when you face teams that have time to game plan for you, and you are forced to come into a series and a game and make adjustments that get you out of your comfort zone because you know the team that you are playing is not going to allow you to get what you want. It takes you out of your comfort zone. The Knicks played like shit today, but to try to differentiate between the Knicks played like shit because they played like shit or because the Knicks played like shit because they were taken out of their comfort zone and they were trying to adjust and they couldn't adjust. Now they're in their own heads and yada, 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 yada is a futile conversation to have. This is the playoffs. Look at every other team. Every team does this shit. And there are teams with a lot more superstar players and a lot more pedigree than us that their fans are sitting there having these same fucking conversations after those games. So you have to give credit to the opponent because it all comes from the place that you are coming from going into the series. Because you're not sitting there playing the San Antonio Spurs or the Houston Rockets or the tanking Portland Trailblazers. You're playing a team that has time to game plan with a smart head coach and a good roster. And this is what you get. So I'm taking it out. I'm not trying to take it out on you, but this is like,
I'm here. Go ahead.
No, but I feel like I'm yelling at you. I'm not yelling at you. I'm just yelling into the clouds. But this is what happens in the playoffs. Just look around.
I agree. I don't disagree with anything you just said. The Knicks can play poorly against Ja has two more in here. The Knicks can play poorly against anybody. Teams game plan against other teams, and some teams look like Cavs fans, like you said, sounded like this. Like the Knicks
after
aren't
every
doing
fucking
anything.
game.
Right. I agree with that point. Like you have to give the Heat credit. I didn't think the Heat played particularly
they didn't make shots
all that well tonight. Like
they didn't make shots.
Right. I'm saying like the Knicks also did some stuff on defense that forced them to take tougher shots than usual.
But I know a coach who has been fond of saying you don't have to shoot well to play well, and never has there been a more classic example of you don't have to shoot well to play well than the Miami Heat tonight.
If
they played extraordinarily well.
If the Knicks were not shooting well tonight, which like obviously they didn't, but they were hustling and they were getting to the 50-50 ball.
Totally.
Like
yes.
That's our entire point.
Yes.
You can
Absolutely.
say like the Heat are imposing our will with their
100%.
will on us, which I don't think is what people are saying. They're like, where's the Knicks team that out toughed a lot of teams this year? Why didn't you match the intensity that the Heat had for this home game where they only scored 105 points?
Which is why what was literally the first thing I said out of the gate? The Knicks didn't hustle as hard as it's literally the first words that came out of my mouth.
Which is where we get to the end of this, and you're like, you have to give the Heat credit for the Knicks only scoring 86 points, and it's like I think the Knicks had 10 more hustle points in them.
It is okay to be. I'm not telling anybody don't be frustrated with the fact that the Knicks didn't appear to hustle as hard as they could hustle, but I'll also lean on what DJ said, which is like sometimes you're gonna get games where collectively just the spirit and the will is not there. It happens.
And it's why the series isn't over.
Yeah, and it's why the series isn't over. I just like to make this all so one-sided and to not give any credit to the opponent is just that is the only thing. And I know tonight's not the night to do it, but that is the only thing that gets under my skin to you cannot even imagine.
That game 2 against the Cavs, I thought the opponent outplayed the Knicks. That's where I think I would have sided with you more. They imposed their will against the Knicks, and it was like, oh, geez, how do we get an open look in this game? The Knicks had good looks and missed it. They have a rotation that's worked for the majority of this season, didn't use it. They have lineup and spacing issues and aren't doing most of the things to fix it. Now, that's like coach stuff. Their best player, Brunson, went 0 of 5 from 3 and 7 of 20 from the field. Julius Randle reverted back to Julius Randle from the Atlanta series. RJ, for as much as I don't think the minus 32 is on him, like he also was 5 of 17 from the field today. Like Quickley, for as well as I thought he played today, went 4-12 and 2 of 8 from 3. Like these are self-inflicted things. I think that the Knicks, it's a combination of both. Like the Heat can have a game plan that's getting the Knicks to be like shooting themselves in the foot. The Knicks also then have to shoot themselves in the foot.
But it's also the playoffs, and it's the playoffs, and guys don't perform because the pressure's on, and it gets ramped up.
Which then goes back to the Cavs series where guys didn't perform to their normal standards because it's the playoffs. So that's still a self-inflicted thing that they're not ready. They're young. We're ahead of schedule, as Dom the Dentist already said. I'll give you the Heat have been here before. The veteran plays and the veteran things that they're doing. I agree with you on that. I think a lot of people agree with you on that. They didn't win 120-86 because they out executed the Knicks and shot particularly well. I actually thought this game was there for the taking if we get a typical Knicks game. I didn't think we got a typical Knicks performance.
We didn't.
That's why I'm less like we're ahead of schedule. This is a great season that some of the tone seems to be. I'm like somewhat confident. They got their bad game out though. Josh Focus has 5 more super chats. I'm just gonna read this real quick. Next one.
Thought they played worse today than game 2 versus Cleveland. I would agree with that.
Yes.
Thought they played worse. Worse. That's the key.
Agreed.
Give credit to the Heat because they're legit. We could also acknowledge they didn't get taken out of the comfort zone. They were never in it to start. I think they were out of it to start because of this is a chicken or the egg thing. It's like, when do you get taken out of your comfort zone? Is it when you're game planning to go against something that you know is coming? It's like, we're not in disagreement, Ja. Get us out of here, GMAC, before I go broke. Hashtag
you said last one like an hour and a half ago, John.
Knicks at 6. John, when is the Heat bad game coming? I don't know if we're gonna get it.
Yeah,
I mean, because
I've thrown out the regular season sample with the Heat. I think that's where I come to your side of like this.
Oh wait, no, it came already. Game 2 against the Bucks.
I think he means this series.
Oh,
I don't know if we're getting it this series. Like good Lord, Ja, with one more. Hold on, it's got to show up in StreamYard first. I think the Heat, if they have a bad game, this could have been it. Is my frustration that the team that the team that shot 38% from the field and then 21% from 3. That's a beatable team, which is my only pushback to like, you got to give the other team credit. And it's like, they did not play all that well tonight. Like the Knicks can outscore a team that scored 105 points. They did it in game 2.
The Heat didn't shoot well, but they played well. The Knicks didn't shoot well and they didn't play well.
Chicken or the egg?
Go out with positivity. Great season, no matter what. Yeah, no. Look, yes,
it's not over.
But it's not
great
over.
Season, no matter what. You're right. Great season, no matter what.
But that's why I'm going on and on about this, because to me, focusing so much on what the Knicks didn't do, even if it is more deserved tonight, and I don't disagree with you on that, it belittles what this team has accomplished this year, because they're getting beat through 3 games. They're getting beat, and they're getting beat in part because they're beating themselves, and they're getting beat partially because they're playing the Heat. But like, my only point that I was trying to make is this is not what we are seeing is not in any way out of the ordinary for the playoffs. This is normal playoff shit we see from every team every year. That's the only point that I'm trying to make, is like, let's not pretend that this is only happening to us. And we're the only team that has, complaints about the coach and thinks that they should be better in a given series or a given game. Across the board. It's across the board stuff. And I know tonight was not the night for rationalization.
No.
But just, can we at least give credit to the Heat? That's all I want to do. Just give credit to the Heat. Give credit to the team that didn't shoot well but still played very well tonight. And because they did is part of the reason why I think the Knicks lost, in addition to the Knicks' self-inflicted wounds.
I've argued this for the last 10 minutes. I don't necessarily agree, but we can just agree to disagree at this point.
That's fine. Thanks everybody for watching. I'm sure this was a blast. We'll be back for more fun and games very soon. I think we got something. Me and Jeremy are recording tomorrow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that should be fun. And then game 4 on Monday. Knicks season online. So see if they show up. Fingers crossed.